Buffett really is different. While the guys on Wall Street like to make a quick buck, Buffett prefers to take it more slowly. To invest. And that's the first lesson in the Buffett primer. Invest. Don't speculate. Well, let us talk about making money. Is there a meaningful distinction to be drawn between making money out of investment and making money out of speculation? It's always a bet, isn't it? It's always a gamble.
No, it isn't a gamble. There is a real distinction. Basically, it's subjective, but an investment attitude, you look to the asset itself to produce the return. So if I buy a farm and I expect it to produce $80 an acre for me in terms of its revenue from corn and soybeans, and it cost me $600. I'm looking at the return from the farm itself. I'm not looking at the price of the farm every day or every week or every year. On the other hand, if I buy a stock and I hope it goes up next week, to me that's pure speculation. What really counts is how the Coca-Cola company does. And that really is not a bet. It's an analysis of the fundamental earning power of the asset and looking to that earning power to justify the price you pay. The best boat you can have is your own talent. You know, I mean, they can't take it away from you. Inflation can't take it from you. Right. Taxes can't take it from you. So develop the habits. You've got the brain power, you've got the energy, but develop the habits of success and look around you at the people that you admire, you know, and list what makes you admire them compared to somebody else that looks equally strong or equally talented. And those are things that you can do. I mean, just write them down. And you know, people like people that they like them if they're humorous, if they're friendly, if they give credit to the other fellow. I mean, and they don't like them if they're stingy, you know, or they overstate and overpromise and all those sort of things. Well, that's a decision you make. So I encourage everybody to build your own moat around yourself. The important thing, you know, is not how. It's nice to have a huge circle of competence. It's much more important to know where the limits are of it. You can do very well if you only understand 5% of the businesses in the country. If somebody calls me about an investment in a business or an investment in securities, I usually know in 2 or 3 minutes whether I have an interest, and I don't waste any time with the ones in which I don't have an interest. I always worry a little bit about even appearing rude, because I can tell very, very, very quickly whether it's going to be something that's will lead to something, or whether it's, you know, it's just a half an hour, an hour, or 2 hours of chat. I just read and read and read. I probably read 5 to 6 hours a day. I don't read as fast now as when I was younger, but I read 5 daily newspapers. I read a fair number of magazines. I read 10Ks. I read annual reports, and I read a lot of other things too. So I've always enjoyed reading. I love reading biographies, for example. To be able to live the lives of these people that have been so extraordinary, the lessons and the discouragements they face, just everything about it. So you can't get enough of reading it. Well, what kills great businesses, if you look at, I do believe in looking at history, and I like to study failure, actually. And my partner says all I want to know is where I'll die, so I'll never go there. And we want to see what has caused businesses to go bad. And the biggest thing that kills them is complacency. I mean, you want a restlessness, a feeling that, you know, that somebody's always after you, but you're going to stay ahead of them. You always want to be on the move. And when you've got a great business, you know, like Coca-Cola, which is, there aren't any like Coca-Cola, but you really, the danger would always be that you rest on your laurels. But I see none of that, obviously, at Coca-Cola. But that is the key, to compete the same way when you've got 1.8 billion servings being sold daily as when you were selling, you know, 10 a day. And that restlessness, that belief that tomorrow's more exciting than today, you know, you just have to have it permeate the organization. I got to do what I love. I mean, and it doesn't get any luckier than that. If you can spend your lifetime, and I'm 80 now, and doing things you love every single day. I mean, I would be doing what I do now, and I would have done it in the past, if the payoff had been in seashells or shark's teeth or anything else. If you can go to work every morning, I tap dance to work, you know, and I come down, and every day's exciting. So that is lucky. I mean, didn't have to happen that way. If I'd been born in 1930, if I'd been born a female, if I'd been born black, I would not have had the same opportunities that I had. I mean, it's chance. I mean, my parents loved my sisters just as much as they loved me. My sisters are just as smart or smarter than I am and all of that, but they didn't have the same expectations in the 30s for a young smart girl as they had for a young smart guy. And so I've had all kinds of luck. I had the luck of, I got turned down by Harvard. Well, getting turned down by Harvard meant I got to study under Ben Graham at Columbia, which changed my life. All kinds of things have worked out. So I just hope I stay lucky. I've been lucky for 80 years. I've seen plenty of people with lots of money where it hasn't worked out well in the family.
They didn't feel good about their children.
Or the children didn't feel good about them. You know? I mean, but whichever way. I mean, but they failed at the most important teaching job they had in personal relationship, and sometimes it happens for extraneous reasons. But I really have never met anybody, regardless of their economic circumstances, who felt their life was a failure, who felt they'd been.
If their children had become,
if they love their children,
and their children were doing,
yeah, absolutely, they felt good about what they brought them into the world when they
their achievements, and they felt like they had equipped themselves for the future.
Yeah, I knew one fellow was extraordinarily rich. He'd put a lot of money in his kid's name. He didn't want them to have any control over it. Once a year, he would have dinner with them and try and get them to sign their income tax return in blank. Now, just imagine that, with, in this case, 4 kids. None of them. If you own a wonderful business in life, the best thing to do is keep it. All you're going to do is trade your wonderful business for a whole bunch of cash, which isn't as good as the business. And now you got the problem of investing in other businesses, and you probably paid a tax in between. So my advice to anybody who owns a wonderful business is keep it. Now, sometimes there's some reason in terms of taxes or family situations or whatever it may be that a wonderful business is for sale. But I have told a number of people who have come to me who have wonderful businesses, if you can figure out a way to keep it, because all you're going to do is take that $1 billion you get, or $5 billion, you're going to pay some tax on it. Now you're going to go out and buy some stocks, and most of those stocks you buy are not as wonderful as the business that you already own, and you don't know as much about it, and so sometimes it pays to know when you're well off. You should never sell a good business just to get money. That does not make sense.